All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Pete Erickson once again from Voice Summit, voicesummit.ai. If you haven't checked it out, it is the largest voice event of the year, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We have more than 350 speakers joining us from 25 countries in Newark, New Jersey at NJIT. This morning, I have the privilege of speaking with Joel Sucherman with NPR. Joel, good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for getting involved with the event. So first off, tell us a little bit about what you do at NPR.
Sure. So I'm Vice President of New Platform Partnerships. And what that means is essentially look after the emerging platforms. And over the last few years, as you might imagine, that was very much a voice first world, looking at smart speakers, voice assistants, but also things, for years we've been also very closely connected with the connected car space. As you might imagine, cars are critical to to NPR's audience. And so it's a matter of partnerships with the big tech companies and AI firms, and then thinking about execution. So building within product teams here at NPR.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, as a longtime listener, I really appreciate the company, and that the company's made it onto so many platforms. Just makes it all the better. Tell us a little bit about your background. How long you been at NPR? Where did you come from?
Sure. So I've been at NPR for almost 10 years now, and prior to that, I was at USA Today for 17 years, but always on the new technology side of things. So I was always thinking a lot about how a legacy news organization takes advantage of new technology and ensures that we future-proof, which is very much in the center of this voice-first world that we're in.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. So you probably have a pretty interesting vantage point, just given your if you're talking with the platforms. Because it's such a race right now. It's so interesting to see, between Amazon and Google, now Samsung, and then to see the car companies. We interviewed with Mercedes about their voice enablement in their cars. So you probably have a pretty fun vantage point of this era.
Yeah, the car space, we could probably talk for hours about the history of, over the last 10 years, the way that they have, the pendulum has swung back and forth. But maybe we'll save that for another day.
It's a whole nother discussion. Absolutely.
That's right. Exactly. But thinking back 4.5 years is amazing to think of. It's been less than 5 years since the first Echo device was in all of our homes. And in that period of time, you've seen, and NPR works very closely with Erickson Research on releasing Smart Audio Report, which we just released a couple of weeks ago. So the findings of that is that 21% of the U.S. population 18 and older now have a smart speaker device at home. So it's about 53 million people. And think about that the adoption of that in less than 5 years is faster than any new technology, faster than the iPhone. So it's really remarkable. And it's an existential thing for NPR, right? In an era in which if you're under the age of 30, the odds are you either don't have a radio, or if you do have a radio, it's probably the one in your car. All of a sudden, millions of these new radios have shown up on people's kitchen counters, everywhere throughout the house.
Right.
And so at the most basic level, what can you do with it? Well, play NPR, listen to the radio, and so it's been terrific for NPR in terms of live streaming, on-demand content, things like NPR One and the hourly newscast. We produce 24/7 newscasts, and so as a flash briefing, that was one of the earliest things that people glommed onto with the devices.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when we would ask Alexa for a flash briefing, a news briefing, it would be the NPR brief. So nice job, NPR, on that relationship and getting that positioning. But I think too, just generally how we access news and information, right? Flash briefings, little snippets. It's just changing so much, right? We used to the radios used to be ambient, maybe on in our home or our shop or our car. but now it's such an on-demand world. That really does change things, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right. So there are a lot of different ways that people like to listen. There's something about live that I think is never going to go away. The notion that this is happening right in the moment, and so there's always going to be, I think, an appetite for live radio, for live streaming. But you're right. It's very much an on-demand world, and we've been preparing that for about 5 years prior to the smart speakers, voice assistants, with the NPR One app, which was really taking a look at the world around, thinking about things like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Pandora and Spotify, and how and also looking at trends like more people would watch Saturday Night Live skit on YouTube or somewhere else than actually watch the show live on Saturday night. And so thinking about the atomization of content, we produced a 2-hour morning show called Morning Edition, a 2-hour afternoon show, All Things Considered. And in each one of those shows, there's about 18, 19 individual segments. And if we could think about how we might segment that out and provide a more efficient listening experience for somebody that might have a 22-minute commute, for example.
Right.
If you listen to the newscast and there's a story about the Trump White House in there for 30 seconds, do you need the 5-minute version of it right after that? Or can we maybe take you into the analysis piece about whatever that event was? And so thinking about curation on top of algorithms, we've been thinking about that for some time, and that works really, really nicely too in the voice assistant space. And I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg, because there's that lean back experience with maybe the ability to skip and get closer to exploring what you might want. But I think we're also moving into an era in which the on-ramps into content are going to be different. Right? Instead of the top of the hour newscast always starting your day, I think people have questions that we ask our devices.
Right.
And that's also the starting point, right? What happened at the Tony Awards last night? What happened at the Trump news conference this morning? All of those kinds of things are answers that people ask with voice that NPR and member stations, I think, are uniquely positioned to answer with audio responses.
I think you're right. I think it's going to get really interesting because there's two sides. There's the algorithms and the AI that are going to deliver me what they already know that I want. But then there's also me being able to say, what happened in the Red Sox game last night. Show me the highlights, So now you've got multimodal, and then, we're used to the device. This is now going to integrate with our television, and we're going to basically just kind of have this seamless experience, so it gets really exciting. Well, Joel, you're going to be on one of our esteemed panels. I'm going to check it out here. Let me just go share my screen. And looks like I'll be able to pull this up right now. So major media in the voice first era, featuring BBC, ABC, and NPR. So wow, I am really looking forward to this. This is on Wednesday morning on our main stage. And it seems that all the companies, the major media companies around the world are all sort of grappling with the same issues, correct?
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And I think that beyond that, because we like to think about it starting with in an audience first world, right? Thinking about the audience first, people are looking for trusted content, right? They've invited these devices into their homes, and they're still looking for factual, trustworthy content, whether it's hard news or more cultural information. And so the folks on this panel, I think, are really positioned well to talk about that, and the responsibility then that we have to be able to respect the fact that they've invited us into their homes in these devices, respect their time, do a good job of figuring out what they want and trying to get them to navigate to the right places. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to hear what my colleagues in Australia and the UK are up to as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. I'm certainly going to be checking that out. If you haven't checked out the website yet, voicesummit.ai. Again, this is the place where the world is coming together. We have more people coming from more than 25 countries, more than 350 speakers. sharing their knowledge. If you are a small business, medium business, work for a large business, are a developer or designer, and want to get your hands around this space, now's the time to understand more about it. If you can't tell by just how much this industry, this new era is changing iconic companies, media companies like NPR, it's fascinating to watch and kind of have a front row seat. Joel, thanks again for taking a few moments this morning so we can get to know you better, talk about what you're going to be sharing at Voice Summit, and just generally as an NPR fan, hearing, all the things the company's doing to sort of prepare for the next wave of the interface and how we access information.
That's great. Well, I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you there. It's not all mugs and tote bags in public media.
Yeah, and we're going to be featuring that report you just did with Edison as well. That was a noteworthy report. We're actually going to be having some of our own data we're doing with voicebot.ai. And I know that there's going to be some other reports furnished at the event as well. So for those of you out there, going to be a lot of cutting edge information about exactly what's going on. So Joel, thanks again. And if you're a student out there and you want to access this event, we do offer scholarships, or maybe you're in economic transition between careers. Definitely please apply for a scholarship. It's not too late. And we hope to see you in Newark, New Jersey, a week from Monday. We kick things off. Joel, thanks again. I'm Pete Erickson. Have a great day.
Thanks, Pete.